I'm in a low pressure and in a lot of pain, but I am having flashbacks, and I'm going to do this video on behalf of those people who have an allergy to electricity, Wi-Fi, electromagnetic allergies. That means all the modern technology. They suffer with excruciating pain. One in particular, Annie, has become so brain damaged and hallucinating that nothing more can be done to help her, because she goes into fits of rage against anyone who tries to help her and accuses them of all kinds of false accusations. So she's pretty much abandoned, and she's not online anymore. But I did write most of her story. It took me 2 years, but I got enough out of her that I was able to write her story on my free website. But the one thing that I do know is that back in the 60s, I did meet people like that. So they've been around ever since electricity began. And what I do know about them is that they were also, like me, allergic to toxic chemicals, air, food, water, and beverages. On top of that, they couldn't function in the modern world, and they didn't know why. And a group of them in Toronto went into the north of Ontario wilderness, and unlike the Americans, our police, if you go in a tent and want to live in our wilderness year-round in the middle of winter, the police aren't going to round you up and remove you. And so they did that. And they lived off the grid. But their story could never be published because they could never stay in touch with anyone long enough to publish the story. So they were just written off as a bunch of insane maniacs, you know. But that's not true. That was around 1963, I'm talking. So they've been around for a long time, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of them all over the planet. I'm going to tell you the story of a man that I met who was from northern England, very poorly educated. I don't think he had more than grade 3, and he was a real, really, how can I find it? He was a bit of a boor, you know. He couldn't, but it turned out he searched the world working as a laborer, and he wound up just pioneering. He went off into the wilderness in Australia, and he came across an opal mine, blue opals, and he became a multimillionaire. He made some kind of a deal with the Aborigine natives there, and built a home underground, off the grid, and he was 100% well there. But he got bored, and he decided he wanted to use his money to live, you know, in high society. And he was really a multimillionaire. So I met him through a design and contract company that I was working for. And nobody liked working with him because he was really very rude and very ignorant. But so was my father, so I was used to that. And we got along fine. So he bought a condominium in Toronto, and he had a party. And he went completely out of control, and he demolished the place, and that, which broke the lease, and they threw him out. And he came to say goodbye, and we went for coffee. And he couldn't understand what had gone wrong. And I said, well, clearly, you're allergic to alcohol. You can't drink. You may not be a native, but I do know from personal experience that there are people who are allergic to alcohol. I said, I'm allergic. People have forced it on me, and I've lost months in a blackout, and woke up in Vancouver one time. And he said, no kidding. And I said, yes, I didn't remember how I got there. And I have a lot of memory blanks, and terrible things were done to me in that condition. So anyway, I said, you'd probably be better off marrying one of the native women because they could function really well in the desert home that you built, and raise your children there, and maybe some of your children will be normal and healthy. But if not, at least you can have a life. But you cannot function in our world. You tried that, and it's a disaster. And I said, and you should, go online and go to a library and try and get some education, because there's no reason for you to be so completely without any knowledge. And so anyway, we parted as friends. I never saw him again. He offered me a bunch of opal jewelry and everything, and I wouldn't take it. I was funny that way, millionaires and mafia dons, and they offered me all kinds of stuff and Cadillacs and furs and diamonds, and I wouldn't take it. Although I'm sorry I didn't take at least one little ring, a blue opal. But I had a moral conscience about taking gifts from wealthy men. Anyway, that was just me. And but the point is that he really was okay out there off the grid. And a man in Chelmsford went off into our Northern Ontario wilderness and lived for 9 years in a tent in the winter off the grid. And he was really well and happy. And he put out beautiful videos on Facebook. That's when I discovered what a mistake that was. I had no idea. He had a heart condition, and when he got bad symptoms, he knew he was in trouble, and he came back to Sudbury, and he died here. And everything, his journey, he grew even in summer out there in between the rocks, beautiful food. What a beautiful story. All gone. Oops, sorry, that's my computer. All gone and lost forever, because Facebook deletes you when you die, like you never existed. And there's only 2 places where there's any chance of your survival for a couple of 100 years. And that's a free website where they're not going to delete you when you're dead. Mine is on Wix.com. There may be others, but the others I didn't find them as good, because Wix is connected to Google, so it seems to be the better one. And YouTube, so far. Although YouTube is threatening to delete people now. So I don't know. It's getting harder and harder to maintain our stories online for the next generation with this kind of attitude of deleting us. But Facebook for sure is not the place to put your story. You have to go on to a free website and Wix and on YouTube. And one woman that, if it wasn't for her allergy to electricity and electromagnetic, Dawn Liberty, she's a brilliant, intelligent woman, and she put out so much research, but it's all on Facebook, and she can't stay online long enough to figure out how to go on YouTube. And I offered to have her send me stuff, and I would do it for her, but that never happened. And now I'm not well enough to do it anymore. This is December 10th, 2023, and I had to go offline myself. My inflammation and my tumor nerve damage is such that I'm in so much pain. I put what I could about mold, what it does to you, and how to recover from it, but I had to remove myself from the groups, because there are people who like to attack you, and I'm just not well enough to deal with that nonsense anymore. I haven't got the strength. But anyway, getting back to Dawn, she did manage, she's in Michigan, and she did manage to find a park that had no hydro poles and no hydro and no Wi-Fi, and she spent the night in her car 100% pain-free for the first time in years. But the police came and moved her. And that's the difference. In Canada, they wouldn't. You could go to a park and sleep overnight, and they're not going to do that. But unfortunately, and she owns a house, and she's been looking for land to build, but she couldn't find any place. And I wasn't able to help her, other than I do know that if she could get in a far enough wilderness, she would be okay. But unless she puts her story out on a free website or YouTube, everything she's learned is lost to humanity. And that's really tragic. So I just wanted to put that out, that there are people all over the world suffering. But it isn't just as simple as being allergic to electricity or electromagnetic or Wi-Fi or G5 or any of that. It's much more than that. We have poisoned our planet. We're killing it. So what makes people think it's okay for humans? Some are going to survive, but it's causing brain disorder, and for lack of a better name, Parkinsonism is the one that a neurologist helped me with. And it doesn't matter if it's mold poisoning causing the nerve damage, which I had, or a tumor causing the nerve damage, which I have. Because I've been able to prove in both cases that you can repair the nerve damage, providing the tumor doesn't keep causing more nerve damage. But through diet and exercise and clean, fresh air, you can repair the nerve damage. And okra is the only food that has some sort of a chemistry that, as long as it's raw or frozen, it will repair the memory loss and rejuvenate brain cells and restore. And I have proven that. And I know this is long, but I'm not doing this for you people. I'm doing it for that generation. Hopefully they will find me a couple of 100 years from now. And they will find a way to clean up the planet and the diet and the food and the air and the water and the beverages. Because it can be done. But it won't happen in my lifetime or anytime soon. Okay, so God bless all the children of the planet. And right now, we have wars going on all over the place, religious wars and land wars, people who claim to be followers of Muhammad, but in fact, Muhammad was not a Muslim. And unless you're a Muslim, they think you don't deserve to live. And the same goes with the Christians. Christ was Jewish. And there is no religion on the planet, frankly, that I approve of. I took a position when I was 7 years old. If you're born on the planet, I'm not going to worship anything born on the planet. We need to connect to the universe, because we are not the only species in this universe. But I can tell you this much. There is another life, for some of us, in another dimension after we die. That's not saying it's going to be for everybody. I sure hope it won't be for people like Putin and Hitler and my father and my brother and Doug McIsaac, Dan's brother. People like that, I hope they're not going to survive. I hope they're going to be completely eliminated or stuck, put in a black hole. But our species are really toxic, and they have been for 5,000 years. There doesn't appear to be any hope for us, but that's not my decision. I just do what I'm supposed to do, and there are ways that we can survive. Okay, over and out. That's enough for me, and God bless.